want to give a few more minutes for other people to join?
Okay, yeah, let's give like 2 minutes so that people can join up. But while we are, okay, yeah. I just shared the link, right? Okay, for making processable material from cellulose. He also runs a mentorship platform where he provides guidance to graduates on scholarship applications. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Kenny is going to be talking to us today on relevant research skills to successfully navigate graduate school. With a clapping ovation and a standing ovation, please help me welcome to the podium Dr. Kelechukwu Onwukamike. You're welcome, Doc.
Hello, everyone. Chubuza, thank you very much for taking the lead to moderate the session of today. I hope you can hear me very well. Please let me know if you don't get me clearly, okay?
Yes, Doc, I can hear you clear. Very, very clear.
Okay, very good. So it's a pleasure to have you all here today. I'm very happy to be sharing with you what I consider some of the tips that could be very helpful. Disclaimer here is not to say that I know it all, but that perhaps I have a few advice that would help, especially when you're starting up in your graduate studies or when you're planning to go into graduate studies. So Chubuzo, I will take over the screen. Okay, so I will share now. So welcome everyone. Nice to see many people turning up, and I'm sure that a lot are still on their way. So the session is being recorded, and since you registered for this session, you should be able to, or you would receive the record of this session. So Chubuzo, please make sure they do get it, okay?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen. I would put it now in presentation mode. Can everyone confirm that they can see my screen? You can use the chat. And Chubuzo, you might also want to like explain a bit how the session today is going to go. So we are going to have the presentation for about 40 minutes, and then there would be the question and answer session. In the course of my presentation, if you have any question, please feel free to use the chat box, and Chubuzo would read out these questions later. And of course, we would still give the opportunity for you to ask direct questions. Okay, so in case
yes, Doc, I've already sent it on the chat box.
Okay, perfect. So today I want to walk us through what I consider as relevant research skills to successfully navigate through graduate school. This is itself is not exhaustive. It doesn't mean this is all or this is everything, but perhaps it's some ideas and some tips that could be very helpful. For many of you that follow me on LinkedIn, I share a lot of these tips, and I felt it wise that we have this kind of session where I try to like explain some of the reason behind some of those posts that you have been reading. So the first slide here says, what is the outcome of graduate school? So I would leave this and just get a bit of interaction from the room. So if somebody wants to help me, like those that are already doing their PhD or even doing their master's research, what would you say is the outcome of graduate school? What is the outcome of graduate school in your own perspective? If you want to say something, you can raise your hand, and Chubuzo, please give the person the floor.
Okay, Doc.
Do we have volunteers? What is the outcome of graduate school? I see a lot of people joined doing their PhD in Japan, South Korea. So who wants to volunteer and tell me what you think? Why are you there? What would be the outcome of your studies? What is the outcome of graduate school? Do we have any volunteer?
Yes, Ayula Mobayo is asking to volunteer.
Okay, please, Ayula, go ahead. Production of knowledge. I see this from Muton. I hope I called it correctly. But please, Chinedu also wants to try. So please give the room.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, hello, Ayola. I hope I called it correctly.
Ayola.
Okay, Ayola. Okay, good. So what is the outcome of graduate school in your own perspective?
So for me, I think outcome of graduate school, I think, is contextual in terms of it depends on the person, depends on why you want to go to the graduate school. So whatever you come out with, whatever you come out with should be a proceed of why you're going into graduate school. If I want to go to graduate school to probably bag an MBA or MSc, probably to pursue or to advance my career, that is one. If I want to go to graduate school, probably to go in line of academics, then that is one. So I believe it's contextual and is based on individuals' opinion or what is priority to you in terms of your career or life.
Perfect. And so then I could just push a bit and say, according for you, what would be the outcome of graduate school? This is now for you. What would you say? Ayola, are you still there? Like it for you as a person, what would be the outcome?
So for me, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
So for me personally would be, I'm struggling between two decisions now, going the academics way and then pursuing my career within the digital business space. So, if I see in the next 5 years, after like 5 years to this time, I want to be able to teach strategy. I want to see how I can leverage technology, strategy, and also push the social life. So I'm saying that by the time I'm going to graduate school to be a doctor or to be a professor, for instance, I'm gathering knowledge, to be able to actually be grounded, to be an authority within the space that I've chosen to be. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much for your contribution. I see professional advancement. I see ability to add value, invention to the world in the aspect of one's career. Bismarck, the outcome of graduate school at the PhD level is to add to the body of knowledge in your field. Okay, great. Contribution to the body of knowledge. Please unmute Chinedu. So then, okay, Chinedu, please go ahead. Very, very nice contribution. Please keep it coming. Again, I want you to know that I'm not here just to present coming from any position of authority. I want this session to be really interactive because it's also an opportunity for me to learn. What I will share would be basically from my experiences, and perhaps there are a few reasons why you could take them serious, right? So this is not, again, to like deny anybody's own opinion, but to respectfully like share what I know from where I'm coming from, and at the same time learn from what you already know. So please do not feel shy to share your contribution. And please unmute Chinedu so I can move on.
Yeah, hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Chinedu.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Casey, for the opportunity to just share this. So from my experience interacting with postgraduate students, particularly PhD students and prospective supervisors, one thing I've come to realize in postgraduate school is ability to add to existing knowledge, not only adding to existing knowledge, but ability to also discover new things into in all aspects. So even like I've also discovered that even the masters and some of the postgraduate diploma or stuff, it's actually a preparedness, just trying to prepare you for the intensive work you are going to undergo, most especially when it comes to PhD. So it's just it centers towards a particular angle, which is like discovering new things, having the ability to add to existing knowledge, and bringing up ideas, something that has never done before, but something new. They want to see your ability to bring up something to the table, something new. So I think postgraduate studies is, because most postgraduate studies you're going to be working independently anyway, particularly the PhDs. So it's those skills you're able to like nurture, how you able, and it also encompasses the process of you discovering those things. So how did you pass through the whole process? They want to see how it can be adopted and how the end result is, or the impact in any aspect you're venturing into.
Okay, thank you very much. I would have wanted to listen to so many of you, but we have to move on. And of course, there would be the Q&A session after. And it's not basically question and answer session. I would rather say discussion session, because it's not just that you have all the questions and I have all the answers. So let's also see it as a way where you contribute after my presentation. Maybe there's something you want to add, maybe there's something you do not agree with and you have a different opinion. Please, I'm very, very open to listen. So now, if I look at most of what you have said, it encompasses a lot about processes, end product, really something outside of you. But what I'm about to share here is one of the first realization that I had in graduate school that changed a lot the way that I see what I'm doing, okay? So I want to put it this way. So, okay. Now, the outcome of graduate school is you, okay? I let that sink a bit. So the outcome of graduate school is you. You are the outcome of graduate school. This changes a lot. And why is this important? Because you are the product. Everything that you guys have shared is what you begin to deliver as a function of the experiences that you have had in graduate school. Okay? So what you have shared is what is possible because you have brought in your skills, your experiences, and now you know more. You have advanced knowledge. It's you. It's about you, right? So when you think about it, like you are the product, so it means that whether you come out from graduate school and some people want to say, okay, how many publications did you have? How many things did you invent? The question is more of you. How did you pass through the process? What has the process prepared you to be able to accomplish? What has the process prepared you to be able to advance? And this is very important because it also helps you to start asking questions. What is important for me as I walk through graduate school, as I learn that new process, as I bring in that new invention, as I bring in that innovation, as I transfer research into the market? What am I learning? What is it that I'm doing? Because at the end of the day, when you are out of graduate school and you are to be employed, even if you're going for a postdoc or you're going to the industry, people would be looking more on what are those skills, transferable skills, that you could use and reapply to solve their own problems. So you are the product, okay? Again, everything you guys said is true, absolutely correct, but it's you that is delivering those outcomes, right? So when you say at the end of your graduate school, you want to become a kind of an authority in your space, you have become an authority because you have those skills. So if you were, imagine that you just went through graduate school, it's just like someone that went through a river and has some kind of, I would say, hydrophobic surface that doesn't let water stick on them, and they just go through the river and there is no water on their body. If the person tells you, I went through a river, you'll be like, no, I'm not sure. So you are the product. And this changes a lot because when you are going through graduate school and you pass through a lot of pressures, a lot of challenges, you keep reminding yourself that I am the product. It's me. I'm the one that needs to go through this. What am I learning from these experiences? How is it preparing me to be able to deliver something in the future? So that is the first point, and this changed a lot, and I would try to go a bit more in this direction later. So now the next question is like, who are you? Since I said you are the outcome of the graduate school, now the next question I want to ask is that, who are you? And I have this is the only time you will see so much text in one slide. I apologize for that, but I didn't manage to find a way of putting it more nicely. But you are human, right? We are all humans. And we are an embodiment of failures, challenges, limitations, breakthroughs, successes, pains, joys, celebration, stereotypes, backgrounds, self-constraints, self-perception, and so on. These are the things that we pass through, our experiences. All of these bring into us experience, right? This is what you have gone through when you tell somebody your story. These are like accumulation, mixture of all of these in different proportions at different times in your life that has given you experience. Now, from experiences, what do you get out from experience? How do you navigate through these experiences? Skills. Even when we do not realize that we have those skills, when you do not realize, like many of us, or those of us that schooled in Nigeria in our undergraduate, we know times that we had gone to the classes at 6 in the morning because we want to sit in front, and then we have classes till 6 p.m., or then we are standing under the sun to get some registration done. And this is perseverance, is a skill. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can survive it. But most times we do not realize that these experiences, we are navigating through these experiences with skills, even though we do not realize them. And these skills could be captured as mindset or skill set. Now, the difference of this would depend on how people want to define how it's being used, right? But some of these examples, like I said in the topic, what are those relevant skills that would help us navigate through graduate school? Some of these skills and many of these skills we already have, because again, we have had experiences, but most times we do not realize that the skills are there. Okay, so at the end of the day, we now need to like understand the skill or the particular skill that we need to work more on, because it's more important or it's more helpful, or and in the word that I use in the topic, relevant for us to navigate through graduate school. And this include goal setting, proactive, positivity, collaboration, being smart, inquisitive, simplification, problem solving, diagnostic, learner, communication, seeing the bigger picture. I said like tolerance, resilient. There are many, many skills, right? But now, how do you build up these skills? How do you position yourself? Remember, you are the product of graduate school, and you need to realize the skills, because sometimes when you're applying for a job, they ask, what skills do you have? And it's easier for somebody to say, okay, I'm proactive, but do you really have an example where you could demonstrate proactivity? And this is something that helps you to start thinking. So if you start from the other way around, like if you think proactivity and you now say, okay, I have to bring in this skill to solve this problem, you now activate your mind to begin to aspects, right? Or what you might want to call characteristics that help you to realize what you are utilizing. Okay. And so now there are many skills. And when you go through graduate school, you need skills. You already have these skills, but the question is, do you realize that these are the skills that you are utilizing? And or do you realize at what point you should utilize what skill? That is the big question. Okay. So Chubuza, are you there?
Yes, Doc, I'm here.
Okay, I think something happened with my screen. Okay, so now we have all these experiences. We have now the skills, the mind skill, the skill set, and we now are going to graduate school. Okay, so graduate school. I think the first thing that we need to realize there is the mental readiness. I know that for most of us, and including me in most times, we have basically what I would call graduate or transition, that's the right word, transition into graduate school, because it appeared to be the next step, right? And most times, or in some cases, we are not mentally ready. Mentally ready here doesn't mean you are not matured. It means really realizing what step you want to take, or really realizing what effort you have to make, or really realizing what responsibility you have to take. So for me, there are many, many points that are important to define how prepared you should be before going to graduate school. But this is not as important, I would say, as those that are already in graduate school or those that are preparing, but just that somewhere in our mind, we should perhaps think about it. Like, am I mentally ready, or is it just a transition? Am I just making this transition because I don't have a job and this looks like the next thing to do? Or am I making this transition because it is what I want to do? Because, right, what is the why? Why are you going to graduate school? Because it helps me, like one of you said, become an authority in my field. I want to become an expert. I want to have a voice. I want to be able to make valuable contribution. I want to bring in innovation. I want to contribute to the society. I want to contribute to knowledge, right? So to the growth of knowledge. Now, responsibility here is, as you see, like if I look at this typical picture of a graduate student with this hat and that covers your head, it always looked to me like a hat of responsibility. You are responsible. Even more so like going into PhD, right? You are responsible. You are responsible of your project. You get people to help you, but you are responsible. So how willing are you to take responsibility? Okay, so there are many more, but just that we should put it into our mind and try to see how it navigates us into that direction of getting ready to be in graduate school. Again, this is in no way not important for those that are already in graduate school, but perhaps it helps you to like begin to think more, right? And this would help you to like understand, because if you know the why, if you really get a why of what you're doing, it helps you to okay, I think there is a problem. Are you seeing some red light on the
Doc, someone is annotating on the screen. Let me just quickly
okay,
remove that option right now.
Okay.
No, you can share your screen. You can share your screen. There is a
Okay.
security setting that doesn't allow people. Just share the screen, then I'll do that.
Okay. I share again, then I just go to where we were. Yes. Okay.
All right. Done.
Yes, I need to, just 1 second. I need to check this. Chubuza, please, you know I talk too much, so let me know how much time I have, okay?
Okay, Doc. You have, I think, 22 minutes.
Okay, I try to. I know we started 5 minutes late, right?
Yeah,
So
that means it's 27
exactly.
minutes, Doc.
Okay, so I wanted to, I'm trying to get, okay, yeah. So the mental readiness and the responsibility. Now, research skill set for graduate school. Again, this is not conclusive, right? It's not what it means. Like this is all. And this is just some examples of what I think might be relevant, okay? And what does it mean to being research smart? What does it mean? I always make a lot of posts and I put research smart or research mindset. What does it really mean? And to me, it's always more about really understanding why you're doing something, defining how you want to get there, then working towards it. Okay, really decide early on how to design to fail early, because then you are defining your worst case scenario. Of course, it's important to define what failure actually means and how it helps you to transition towards what you are looking for, right? So being able to like quickly define your landscape, understanding the landscape that you want to work in. These are examples of what I would call smart. So as an example, if you were to write a literature review, right, and then you want to read 500 papers, the question is more like, how did you get the 500 papers? Are these 500 papers nicely distributed across the different areas that you want to write on? Or are these 500 papers basically 500 papers for one section? And how will you get another 500 papers for the other section? So really being able to look at the whole picture from the beginning, not go in and then later realize that, oh, I need to consider so. No, but really starting to look broader before you narrow. So you start broad, then you narrow. So you do not narrow and then start broad. And you start broad, and as you narrow, you begin to like eliminate, right? You begin to eliminate, like as an example for the literature review, you begin to eliminate what you do not need, because then you have an overview of the area of research. So being research smart is, again, in my own words, how do you utilize these relevant skills to navigate through graduate school? That is being research smart. Okay, really understanding how to define what you are looking for and how to manage your project and how to manage your supervisor and manage your thesis. That is, to me, being research smart. Okay, so these are some of those skills, right, that I consider relevant, or I consider integral part of being research smart. So relationship, goal setting, proactivity, inquisitiveness, critical thinking or problem solving, positivity, collaborate, believe, and there are many more. So again, as I said, these are just some examples that I'm going to talk about. Now, why is relationship important? I was just trying to find an image that would rightly capture what it means to manage the relationship in your thesis or in your research. And I saw this this very nice ring. It's actually a mathematical model, and it's called like the Borromean rings. And basically, what this ring, or how this ring is defined, is that you are not able to detangle any of them without causing the others to break or to break away. So they are really interconnected. And that is how the three main integral part of your thesis, of your research, are connected. There is the supervisor, there is the thesis, and there is you. These are three components of a research. Now, if you think about it, your supervisor, yes, gave you the funding in the case that there is a funding from your supervisor, or you had a proposal that was accepted and you have a supervisor. There is a supervisor for that project, but you are the manager of your project. The project is part of that relationship because you have to manage the project and your supervisor. You are responsible for putting this relationship together. I've had scenarios where some of my friends had big problems because they had, like for us, we did a double PhD, means like you also had supervisors in different universities. And most times the supervisors have different in terms of how the research should go, right? And so when you are in one university, the supervisor is pushing you in one direction. And when you're in another university, he's pushing you in another direction, and you are just in the middle and you are completely lost. And I had friends that had a lot of challenges due to this. So you being able to manage those supervisors and tie it to your thesis, defining what needs to happen and making sure that relationship is together. You don't want to be in a scenario where you are not in good terms with your supervisor, because sincerely, unfortunately, that's the person that will read the thesis, right? So this relationship is very important. It's what I consider the most integral part of a successful thesis. If you want to find a successful thesis, I would think first of my supervisor before I think of the university. I've had a lot of people come to me and like, oh, I want to go to this university. They have a high ranking. I want to go to this professor because he's well known. And my first question is, are you sure you would have a good relationship with this supervisor? Like, are you sure? Have you looked at the group? Have you talked to students from this group? I've seen people, a lot of people that drop out from graduate school is because of the supervisors. And it's not about having a problem or not having a problem, but not being able to see things in the same direction. Because at the end of the day, if that relationship doesn't work, even if you decided to go to MIT, you would drop out because you cannot cope. And compared to someone like, I was fortunate to have really, really helpful supervisors. And I could say that I could do so much more because I had this kind of supervisors, much more than I would imagine if I was in any much high-ranked university, as an example. So the supervisor is very important because the supervisor helps you through the thesis. So if you have a difficult supervisor, then you are also having problem managing your thesis because the supervisor is not giving you the relevant support for you to manage the thesis. So you are having problems with two ends. But if you have a problem with your thesis and you have a good supervisor, like in my case, I went to my supervisor at some point because I had a lot of problems, and he just said, you are the product of your thesis. So what you have gone through is an experience. And this is why I gave that first slide. Like, you need to always remember that when things are not going right, remember that you are the product. Will you give up on yourself? That's the question that you always need to ask. Like, will you give up on yourself? It's really something that helps you to go through that when you are in the down part. So this relationship is very important, okay? And you want to make sure that it's well managed. So I would choose supervisor over any university. That's for sure. Of course, the thesis, no matter how difficult it is, if you have a supervisor that helps you, that understands what you're going through, that helps you to navigate through the thesis, you are much, much in a better shape than someone that has a good thesis that is easygoing, but a supervisor that is not, that you are not able to work with, right? So it doesn't matter how good the thesis or how highly ranked the university is. Another skill here is goal setting, and this is also very important. Your goal here, it's basically what you have to deliver in your thesis, okay? You got a project. Now your project says you have to develop a method for synthesizing so kind of molecules. That is it's broad, right? So this is your project. Now, this project usually comes with what they call objective. What is the objective of this research? Or what are the goals? What is the objective? How are the goals? What are the goals that will help us to achieve those objectives? And gradually, when you break this into smaller pieces, or starting from smaller pieces as you build it up down to the research itself, you need to identify your goal, and it has to be SMART. SMART here means your goal has to be specific, it has to be motivating, it has to be attainable. So in some people call this M as measurable, which I also think very, very important. You can call it motivating or measurable. It has to be attainable, it has to be relevant, it has to be trackable. Now, expectation versus reality. I remember when I first went to my supervisor, he said, you know, what your PhD is about is that you have to develop this kind of method to make this kind of molecules from cellulose, and it should be processable in 1 page. It took 3 years to do it, right? Expectation, reality. I just took this funny image from Civilized, and this is about like online recipe, right? So the recipe just says, this is the recipe. Reality, there's the photo of the dish, there's the complete history of the dish, there's a 15-minute long video, how the author was changed emotionally. So there are other things that you expect to just see a recipe of the dish, but no, it's given in many, many components. And that is the same. So PhD research is not something that you say, I know already from the beginning. Of course, there is expectation. There is what is expected in terms of history. We know that this molecule behaves like this. Now we want to check if it will behave like that in another kind of system. Okay, could you research this? And of course, there is a funding, and people want to see what happens, because perhaps this is going to be the next generation materials. So expectation, reality, you have to align this clearly with your supervisor. And this is why I wrote, when is the PhD or research actually done? What will success look like? Be clear with your supervisor. What are we going to do? What do we want to achieve? How will success look like? How are we going to measure it? Because in reality, you never actually finish a PhD. At least that's what my supervisor told me, right? Typically, you don't. So you need to be clear and align from the beginning, and also track it, right? Track the progress over time. What will research look like? What will be the expectation of this research? How are we going to measure it? Should we be able to get monthly update to see where we are going to? Are we even in the direction of where we want to go? My research basically changed a lot almost after 6 months, in a direction that, of course, the same bigger picture, but in a completely different route. That was not even in the consideration when the project was submitted before approved. So you need to understand what you are going through, because at the end of the day, you are the expert. You are the one in the lab. You are the one doing the research. You know more than your supervisor, because you are the expert in your project. And you need to understand this part, like being able to define and drive the direction, understanding that, oh, this is what we're expecting, see what I'm going through, I've done this, and this, I do not see how we can go in this direction, see what I'm proposing. And when you come to your supervisor, don't just come and say, it's not working. Come with a solution. And that is what it means for you to be thinking, to be smart. I have checked this, and this. It's not working this way, but see what I'm proposing. Will you want us to check this? Well, of course, and make sure you are aligning it. Don't go and do it because you think your supervisor would accept. And after 6 months, you are coming back and he says, but this is not what we agreed at the beginning. Make sure you carry them along. Relationship, very important, okay? Proactive, never too late to start early. I made this post, I think many of you that followed me on LinkedIn read this post, and it was about how I started my thesis. I didn't even start early enough, actually. I took maybe the first 1 year, I'm struggling with research, with synthesis and a lot of things. And towards at the beginning of the second year, when I started really coming to realize that, oh, I'm actually responsible for what I'm doing. This is me leading this work. I can get help from people, but I have to lead it. I have to ask what I don't understand. I have to get help. I need to go out there. I need to make those steps. And I realized that if I want to finish my thesis, finish it, complete, submit the thesis in 3 years and defend, I need to start early. And eventually, when I wrote my actual thesis, it was done in 2 weeks, from the 15th to the 30th of November 2018. And someone might say, oh, 2 weeks, that's quite a short time. No, because I started like 2 years ago. And how did I start early? I started thinking, how would my thesis look like? Remember, we talked about goal setting, right? What would success look like? What is your research about to deliver? Here are the objectives. Objective 1, objective 2, objective 3. Each of these objectives has a goal. How would this objective be met? These are the directions we want to take. I started drafting how my thesis would look like. And I started asking the question, if I have to finish my thesis, I need to have done some research work on each of these aspects of my thesis. My thesis involves solubilization, regeneration, derivatization, and solvent development. So all these aspects needed to be part of the thesis. So when I put this into the right frame, it started helping me to also start asking questions like, am I working, have I done something in this direction? Should I start moving should I start prioritizing this part because I've not done anything? So how do you start managing? And one way to do this is start thinking about writing your publications from day one. Okay, so how do you start thinking in that direction? First, you need to know how publications in your field look like. One of the first advice I got when I was a master's student was by a PhD student then in our lab is, Kenny, if you want to succeed in PhD, get one review. Get one review in your field. A good review in your field. Read it over. Read it every week, once a week. Read it until you understand everything inside. Remember, reviews would have other references. Read it and then start moving to those references, but understand the review. One review. Get one review. I add another one. Get one good publication in your field. One good publication. You need to know what is the language of your field. How do you communicate scientific information? You need to get that direction early on. So when you are doing literature review, as you're going through the literature review, start defining, you should know who are the big players in your field. Get a paper from their group. How does it look like? Where did they publish? What did they consider? Okay, they want to synthesize. What are their development strategies? How do they build their literature? How do they build their history, their literature part? How do they set up their reactions, their experiment? How is their experiment set up? What kind of data are they reporting? What kind of experimental techniques are they using? When you start putting all of this together, it helps you to define, like when you are going to the lab, you even know that, oh, this week I'm doing experiment, this, and this, and this. This is what I'm expecting from this experiment. This is where it can come into my publication. And start putting your data together. So don't wait till the end, because at least what I know in chemistry, I think also in biology or microbiology, a lot of challenges don't come from actually writing the thesis. It's from analyzing your data. So you want to make sure that every week, as you go into the lab, as you make those data, analyze them, don't keep them. Okay, because if in fact, when you don't analyze your data, how do you even define the next steps to do? So when you plan your week, when you plan your experiments in such a way, and this is again being smart, that you define the next step from what you know from the previous step. So you build your landmark, like I want to check so kind of temperatures. I want to change this parameter. I want to see the effect of temperature on reactivity. This is the experiment I want to do, because when I know my optimal temperature, this is the next thing I can do. Reaction time. Don't change temperature, change reaction time, change conditions, change so many things that you don't even know what is happening. So, but how do you even get into this direction? because you know how research in your field is done. What kind of instruments do I need to use? Do we have them in our lab? Don't go and set up an experiment that you are not even able to measure because you don't have the capability, right? Because, I mean, if you really have to do it, then talk to your supervisor upfront. And this is why I talked about alignment. We want to check this because these conditions, this type of instrument might give us so kind of results. Again, how did you know it? Because you have seen it. So make sure you know where you are. In fact, don't just be there. Consciously go where you are. That's proactive. Like, go into the future while you are still in the present. And take the action. Don't take the action when you get into the future. Take the action now. That's why it's proactive, right? So this is very important. And it also helps you. I was proactive towards the end because 1 year was mostly gone. And most of that 1 year was trying different things and getting frustrated. But now when I look back, I would think the first thing I would have done was to really map out my research, not going to the lab almost on day one and start doing experiments because I wanted to feel smart and I'm fast. No, really know what you are doing. That's why it's better to understand the literature, define clearly, this is my experiment plan for the month. This is what I want to achieve because I'm going to do this, and this. You have a plan because when I do this, I can move to this. And because you know how they look like in your research. Now, when you start putting your work into publication format, the good thing there is that when you write your thesis, you are basically almost done, right? Because your research, your data have been analyzed, they have been put into the right format, and lucky for you, if you can publish them before your thesis, they have already been peer reviewed. When I submitted my thesis after my defense, I was waiting because I know most people that did their defense in the group were like, okay, you have to make so correction. And I was waiting that they would give me back my thesis for corrections. Nobody did. So I went to my supervisor. I'm like, I didn't get my thesis back. No, don't worry. There is no correction. Like, there was no correction, not any one correction. Of course, I had to do some grammar, some mistakes there and here, but there was no correction. And this was possible because all the publications that was used in that thesis, all the research, I would say, in the thesis was already published before. So please think in that direction, proactive. Critical thinking, problem solving. I've said already this in the previous slide, like problem definition. Problem definition is not really, is part of problem solving, but don't solve the problem without understanding it. Most times we are very reactive when it comes to research. You have an idea, you are in the lab. You have not thought about really what experiment do I even need to do? What methods do I need? Is this method accurate enough to give me the answers I'm looking for? Or is this method accurate enough to give me a data that I can trust? You need to think, define your problem. When you define your problem, you now start getting the direction of what you need to do. So knowing what you don't know, and this is very important. Don't be shy to accept what you don't know. Don't be shy to get help. Don't feel like, oh, they are going to say I'm stupid if I'm asking this kind of question. I'm pretty sure they will be more mad if you break an instrument you don't know how to use because you didn't want to feel like you are not smart enough. No. Get help. Ask. Okay? Define the problem. Critical thinking here is more about, like I said, defining the landscape. Understanding the environment that you want to work in, okay? So very, very important. And this is the kind of skills that you will need almost in every industry. Ability to solve problems. So I've moved in from academic research into industrial research, and it's the same technique. You have a problem in different format. It could come in different way, but your ability to solve. And how do you solve problems? Because you have solved it in the past. And that is why I said the product of graduate school is you. Because you are the one that will go into different places to start making that difference, to start utilizing that. It doesn't necessarily mean you would solve the same problems you solved in your graduate school, but you are using that same logic, right? That same logical reasoning to solve it. And if you've used it in the past to go through PhD, you can use it in the future to do other things. Okay? Chubuzo, how much time do I have? Chubuzo, how much time do I have?
Doc, you have 5 minutes more, Doc.
Including the additional 5?
Yes, including the additional 5.
So inquisitiveness, question what is known, okay? When you do literature review is to get, when I made a post about it, a lot of people were like, is it not just like doing things when I talked about being research smart, using literature? No, it's about knowing. When you know, then you can question it. If you don't know something, you cannot question it. So always ask why not, okay? And many of the research that I had, these are some of the publications from my PhD, many of them came from asking the question, why not? In the first one, in this one, the question was, why not? Why can we not even do this at a lower time? Why do we need 3 hours? Has somebody really understood why? Why must it be 3 hours? Why must it be 12 hours? And we managed to do this same system in less than 10 minutes, right? And it was the same question here. When I first talked to my colleague about this project, he was like, oh, I have done it before and it doesn't work. And the question was, why not? Did you try this, and this? Oh, no, it wouldn't work. Okay, I'm going to see how that does. Because again, why not? And asking questions is not because you don't believe what people are telling you. Perhaps they have not thought about it differently like you could. So when you understand, and this is what you drive, and this is how you drive uniqueness into your thesis, because you are questioning existing things like this, driving a new direction, then you know if it doesn't work because you have done it and you have tried, you have thought about it. It doesn't mean you do all the things that people say doesn't work because you want to prove smart. No, it means when you get the reason, you question it and look at it logically and see, okay, can I learn something in less than 2 experiments? Can I do a worst case scenario experiment and define if I would continue on this or not? Okay, so inquisitiveness. Positivity is very important because PhD is going to, or graduate school is highs and lows, and it could be in different formats. So being positive, knowing that you are the product of your graduate school is going to help you drive through it. Especially for those, I can imagine those doing their graduate study in Nigeria, master's or PhD, that have to pay the fees themselves, pay for the research themselves, and then even fund the lecturer or the professor to come and visit their, to come and, like, if they are in a different state doing their research. All those things coming together, but just know that it's not about them, it's about you. And whatever you're going through, stay positive. That is what drives that passion of why you are doing what you are doing. If you have a why you are doing something, you can go through anyhow, okay? Collaborate. I cannot say this enough. For most of my publications, at least 60-70% came out from collaboration. Really realizing that, oh, I'm going to a conference, who are the people that are working in my field? I want to see what technique that they are using. Can I collaborate with them? Because at the end, it's always faster. Because for me, I do not see research as a competition. I mean, some people do, but I don't. So I see research as a way to contribute to society, to knowledge, to make life better. So why are we not interested in doing it together? Because you want to be the first to publish it and then get the grant. If some people see it that way, I don't. So for me, it's always collaboration. I'm always very fast to collaborate. Like eventually I did my project with around 7 different groups, right? So that most of them I established myself, like I established the connections myself. So networking important for research. Belief. My belief in God is a pillar of my success. People believe in different things. I have no problem with it. But for me, I always know deep in my heart that I'm doing what God wants me to do. This is where he wants me to be, and that is why I would succeed. Success is in front, and I'm fine to go through the pain of the many failures because I know for sure that this is part of that success. So it's not a definition of an end, it's the process. So I need to trust the process. So less is more. This is the last slide. Basically, here is that don't feel like you need to do something so extraordinary before it's important. You can actually do something that you think is small in an extraordinary way. And that is what is research, in my own opinion. Thank you all for your attention. As Igbos will say, Imela. Do I still have some time?
Wow, thank you so much, Doc. It has really been an enlightening section. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you for coming around today to share with us everything that you've done so far. It was really an amazing section. Thank you so much, guys. Guys, please help me thank Doc for the awesome presentation, please. Oh wow, it's coming up on the chat box.
Yeah, we have to take questions. I think
it's time for questions. Right? Yes, of course, we're gonna extend the time a bit. Okay, guys. Quick one. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Raise your hand, and if you don't want to talk, you can type the question on the chat box. Okay, you can type your question on the chat box. But if you want to speak out, all right. Mr. Chinedu has a question, Doc. So let me quickly.
Yes, for some reason, I'm not able to see the others. What did I do?
You're not able to see other people?
Yeah, I think I basically moved that viewing tab somewhere because it was all over the place.
Okay, click on participants. Click on participants.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would see everybody.
Yes, but like I want it to come up back into the video format.
Okay, you have to stop sharing your screen.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know I was still sharing.
Perfect.
Okay. Perfect. Very good. So I want to see the faces of people that talk.
Yeah. Okay, Doc. Mr. Chinedu, you are up. You can ask your question now.
All right, Doc. Thank you so much for that awesome presentation. It's really enlightening, and I've learned so much. Thank you so much. Your publication is awesome. I think I've read 2 of them so far. Amazing. But the question I have is, I've heard many people say they said, don't bother about school, just concentrate on your supervisors. You know what you mentioned it earlier. Our emphasis, our interest would be on the supervisors and not like the school in quotes. So the issue now is, you don't know this person you're just applying, you're a prospective applicant. How will you know the person's behavior, the person's attitude? How will you know that you're going to establish a close relationship with the person? There's someone you don't know. You just develop interest probably in one of his advertised research, or maybe you saw his research on his website, and you were quite happy, you were quite enthusiastic about the research topic, and you just apply. You don't know his attitude, you don't know his behavior, you don't know if you're going to establish close relationship. So how will you deal with this?
Chinedu, first, thank you very much for the nice compliment. I would say that there are many factors here. And to be very sincere with you, when I started applying for scholarships, if you took me to any part of the world, I would go, as long as I was given that scholarship. So I was not defining, it has to be this country. I was looking for scholarships, okay? And I think it's the same for many of us. So it's the same when you're looking for PhD funding, like not really starting to be picky. You can be picky if you are paying, right? If you are paying for it, if you are paying for something, you can say, oh no, I want to go to these universities because my family can afford. My families couldn't afford it. So I was fine to go anywhere. I've been fortunate by God's grace to be with supervisors that can support. So I've been very fortunate. It's not the same for many people. So this is a tricky question, because what I'm not trying to say here is that if you have a choice, you can make. But if you don't have a choice, like if you have applied, like many of us, again, applied to many professors, sending a lot of emails and not getting a response without even knowing who these people are, right? So just because we are looking for something, we want to do something. So I would say it's a matter of luck, especially when you don't have a choice. But when you have a choice, what I was trying to establish here is when you have a choice between universities. For me, one way that I can already know today is, if I have a choice, I can check out the person on LinkedIn. I can check out the person on Twitter. Check out the kind of, what kind of post is this person making? Check out the person's group. What kind of research is the person making? And you can also check out something like, how is the frequency? How frequent is this person publishing? That is very important, because for some people that have so big names, that they don't need to do more, right? So they could be more relaxed. You want to go to someone that is more hungry. And this is something that most times people are making the mistake. So I'd rather go to a new professor. Of course, they would be in a lot of stress, or like an associate prof or a new group leader. They're in a lot of stress to make results. So they are going to push you because they want to make results. Versus someone that has been in the research for 40 years, is an old man, just waiting to retire. You can tell him what you like. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't need to push you. So these are some of those components you can check yourself. But when you don't have a choice, I would say that you have to go where you are going. The question here is more of, if you have a choice and you had to choose between someone that you have checked the profile and you have seen that even in the communication, right? So when you communicate with the person, even before accepting the offer, when you had the interview, what was your feeling about the person, right? So you talk to someone, you can already start seeing that we don't get along. We have some kind of constraint between us. You can already get that gut feeling that when I spoke with many of the supervisors that eventually hired me, I felt that way, that, oh, this is where I want to be. And they felt the same way. They're like, we have been waiting for you. So you have to get that right mutual feeling that this is the person you want to work with. And take note, again, at the end of the day, someone that might be nice to A because they get along will not be the same as nice to you. Not because of you as a person in terms of where you're from, no, but just because you, again, remember, we all have personalities, right? And we have different personality characteristics. So sometimes two people, except you need to understand the person's own personality and try to adapt to work with the person, you can easily just get that constraint. So again, the two things I would say here is, if you have a choice, I would choose supervisors over university. That was what I was trying to say. But if you don't have a choice, of course, you would go wherever you find yourself and then hope for the best.
All right, thank you so much, Doc, for that very amazing answer. Mr. Chinedu is thanking, he's well explained. The next person on the line is Emmanuel Haruna. But before Emmanuel asks this question, there is a question that was asked by Chukwu Ukeje. He said, "Thank you very much, Doc. Please, my question is, what are some of the general research tools needed by material scientists to navigate graduate schools? For instance, in your own journey, did you need any programming skills or tools or stuff like that?"
I mean, it depends on the research. This varies from research to research. When I need programming skills, I talk to Chubuzo, right? So I'm not a programmer, definitely. So, I mean, it depends on what you do. Like as a chemist and also a material scientist, I needed to know how to use a lot of tools, basically for different types of instruments or different types of techniques, like NMR, IR, GCMS, TGA, DSC. So each of these instruments have their kind of tools that you can use. And of course, basic data analytic tools or data processing tools, especially using PowerPoint. There are many things that I can do on PowerPoint that you will be so like, is this really coming from PowerPoint? And so depending on your field, there are some fields that you really need, like even in material sciences and science, depending on the area that you are going to, you might need certain specific skills because you need it to, at the end of the day, what are you doing? You generate data. How do you make it meaningful? That's the question, right? So how do you generate data? Maybe you are doing some measurement, the instrument gives you a lot of data. How is that data meaningful? How do you communicate that data? That is what you need to do. So perhaps in some cases, you need certain types of specific tools or even programming to be able to communicate that data or to transform that data into meaningful information or into information actually that somebody can use. So I would say there are not specific tools. And this is also something that helps, that you can identify from the beginning. If you remember when I was talking about really at the beginning being proactive, right? So understanding where you have to go, seeing what you need. Like I can say, go into your field, that specific area that you want to go online, search for papers in that area, publications, go through the publications, look at the techniques that they have used, look at how they discuss their data, look at did they need programming, did they start talking about some programming language that was used to analyze their data. You can start using it, like I call it like reverse thinking, right? So you go into the result to find the how. How did they get the result? So you understand the result because you see it, then you now say, what was used to get this result? And gradually you can move backward to the beginning. Oh, this was coming from C++ or Python. So I need to learn Python. So you can go to the results, you are finding them online today, and you do reverse thinking into the beginning, and then you find what you need. Okay?
Oh, thank you so much, Doc. He said, find the how from the results. Emmanuel Haruna, you can speak right now. You can ask a question. You are still with us.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Doc, for this wonderful and very insightful presentation.
Thank
I
you very
think
much.
so. You did very well. My name is Emmanuel Haruna. So I'm from Nigeria. So I'm a PhD student here in Japan.
Okay.
So I think virtually Doc has dealt with my first question, right? But I'm just like so, like you said. You know, when it was out of frustration, I'm a government official, is that it was out of frustration from the office that made me to be where I am today. So it's like I didn't have time to make research about the professor. I just applied for the scholarship. Maybe you might know the scholarship Next.
Yes,
So the
very
Next,
prestigious. Yes.
yes, exactly. So I just applied. My first choice wasn't given to me. My second choice wasn't given to me. Then again, I missed admission. Then I was in China for a government function, and there was no access to internet, to Google. So they sent me a message to send my document to the first school. So I was unable to access internet. It was later when I came back, then I missed the admission. Now Max had to look for admission on their own. So, but they state one thing very clearly, that the admission we're going to give you, you might not like the university and you might not like the professor. And that is exactly what is happening to me right now. So right from the onset, the professor told me I can't graduate in 3 years. So by the way, I'm studying development economics. So I can graduate in 3 years. And I asked him, Prof, are you threatening me or you are threatening me? So he said no, that he had 10 PhD students in the past, only one graduated. So that is the issue. So now is that my question now is that I'm just giving you this background for you to know the kind of
Where you are.
yes issue I had. Now the question is that based on you, because I knew you passed, you are lucky to have a very nice supervisor to work with.
Yeah,
A supervisor
absolutely.
that believes in you, that you guys are able to collaborate together to work, right? But some people might not be fortunate
That
to have,
lucky. Yeah.
yes, a nice supervisor like you did mention earlier. Then my question now is that since you passed this process, and I'm very confident that you had some friends that also complain the same like me,
To me,
right?
yes.
Then how do you deal with emotional depression arising from your supervisor? Then maybe if you don't have a personal experience, maybe your friends might have been gisting you, right? Informing you. So in your own experience, so being part of the process, so how do you deal? What advice can you give someone in managing this emotional depression arising from a supervisor? So thank you so much, Doc.
Okay, Emmanuel, thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. Like I said, when we started our PhD, it was a special kind of project, and we're about 15. One person had to drop, and this was coming from this kind of challenge because of different supervisors having different expectations, and then feeling like he's not in any of them. Okay, so what I would advise, and again, I had to advise one of my other friends that did the same project and was having this kind of very big challenge. I would say that for me as a person, I am kind of pushy in terms of what I want to do, right? And I think one of the weaknesses that I would say I have is in terms of being impatient with people that are not helping me to do what I want to do. I was, again, very fortunate that I could give my supervisors papers and tell them, I want us to publish this, to submit this in 2 weeks. And I'm calling them every day. And most times when I'm coming in the corridor, they're like, oh, Kenny, we know, we are going to work on it. So I had this kind of very good relationship. Now, but it's not always that rosy, right? And what I would tell you, it's the first slide. What is the outcome of graduate school? You are the outcome. That is it. You are the outcome of graduate school, irrespective of whether it's a nice supervisor, it's a nice thesis, it's not a nice thesis. At the end of the day, you are the outcome. How do you want to be an outcome? What do you want to come out with? Do you want to come out bitter? Do you want to come out with regrets that I wouldn't have been here, circumstances? Circumstances brought you there, but now you are there. How do you make use of where you are? And when you start thinking that this is not about your supervisor, but it's about you, it changes everything. Of course, the supervisor might, I've had a scenario of, I had an example of a professor in my university that the supervisor just told him that because you got married in the middle of your PhD, I don't think you want to graduate. So, and yeah, just like that, he basically just kept the guy there for many years. And him feeling frustrated, of course, you start seeing him doing the same to others. Because when you go through a process, come out bitter, then that is what you transfer to others. But you could change that. Remember, we might not have control, like in your case, of what happens to you, but you are totally in control of how you react to it. And the advice I can give you, again, I'm definitely not saying what you're going through is easy. I would be definitely frustrated if I'm in your shoes, but that is one part of the reaction. What do I want to do with that frustration? First, I would advise that you need to define what you need to do with your supervisor. Yeah, he says you might not finish in 3 years. Who cares? I mean, 3 years is a number. That's not important. The target year is not, I must finish in 3 years. The question is, why, if you finish in 3 years, does it make you, remember, do you become better? Because you are the product of the graduate school. Some people say, I could have finished like in 2.5 years, but my supervisor said, but what's the point? And really, I asked myself, like, what is the point? Why do I want to finish fast so that I will say I finished my PhD in 2 years? How is that relevant? It's not. What is relevant is the outcome, and you are the outcome. Do you want to feel tomorrow that you are a PhD graduate and you have to communicate, you have to provide expert opinion, and you have nothing to say? I think that is where you should be more worried about. In fact, that is what every graduate student should be worried about, not how long they took. Spend 5 years, spend any number of years, as long as you are going through it mentally stable, emotionally stable, go through it. But know why you are going through it. Know why you are spending that time. I wouldn't say you are spending 5 years simply because a supervisor doesn't want to read your thesis for 2 years. That is a different discussion. But in terms of you deciding that now I'm in this place, this supervisor said we don't finish in 3 years. Okay, but why? That's the question. And I always do this a lot. I isolate myself from others, not because I feel any different, but because when we talk as a group, they might be having different problems that are not specific, that are not relevant to your own case, right? And then when they say, oh, I have 10 students that have not graduated, the question is, why? Do each of them have a specific reason? And in my own case, why would you say I won't graduate in 3 years? Have you given me an outline of what I cannot achieve in 3 years? So what I would advise to you is that, and maybe we can talk again later offline, like define, and this is what I've taught, maybe few of them are in the call today, graduate students or PhD students, what is success going to be like? What do we want to get out from this research? Take years away, drop it somewhere in the back. It's not important. What is this research about? What do we want to achieve? That is it. You now have to deliver it. And you have to present it with him leading. That's why you also need to know negotiating skills. I didn't include it here, but being a PhD student, you are a project manager. You have to be able to negotiate. Negotiate on attainable goals and give reasons why it's not attainable. So if you come to your supervisor tomorrow, look at everything you have done. I don't know when you started, but look at what work have I done? Summary of what I've done. Lead the conversation. You are responsible, so always lead. Be proactive. Don't wait for him to ask. So prepare a presentation. Professor, I would want us to have a conversation. I have some results I want to present, and so that we can define the next steps. So you build your summary of everything you have done in the way you understand your research and what you expect from your research in your own understanding. And then you go to him and you present it. Remember, there is nothing about time here. Time is not relevant. Then you begin to ask, like, okay, what do you think about this? Do you want us to do it differently? What will you propose? You take all his proposals, you put it into another presentation, and you come back. This is how I see our project now. This is my plan for the next month. Just walk along, keep time away, because most times we come into graduate school and we define our graduation. I mean, sometimes you can define because you have funding only for 3 years, and that is understandable. But when you start defining your time because you want to finish fast, and then the professor is like, but I have 10 people, none of them has finished fast. Why are you different? So keep the time away and try to align with him. Because if you are angry with your supervisor, then because he said you are not going to finish on time, the question is, why will you not finish on time? I think you take that responsibility and try to, what is the problem? You need to define what the problem is. But again, it's not easy. My advice is there are no regrets, okay? We look back, not to regret, we look back to learn so as to move forward. So whatever scenario has brought you here, see it as, now that I'm here, God has allowed me to be here. How do I go forward? I might not got the first place, second place, but who knows? Who knows what is going to come out from this? And that is what is always my motivation. Like, I am now where I am going to make the best of it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Doc. I hope Mr. Emmanuel got a lot of value from that. And thank you so much, Doc. We are going to take 2 more questions before we go. I think we already have Olamide. Olamide is here with us. But Olamide, before you speak, we'll take Agumage Idoko's question. Agumage is asking, Doc, for the skills you spoke about, like LC, MS,
Techniques,
GC, MS, techniques, yeah. He said, I only knew of these techniques in theory during my MSc. How do I learn them now? Since I'm expected to know how to use them. I'm expected to know how to use them since I am still in Nigeria.
Okay, so is this person planning, is he moving to start a PhD abroad?
I think so, Doc.
Okay, so I would say that is the same. My first actual research, like being in the lab on my own and doing research, was at my master's, okay? Second year of my master's. I did a lot of experiments, basic experiments, basically not reproducing, but experimental technique developing experimental techniques, but actually leading research. Because remember, research is putting together everything to get an outcome. So it's you thinking about the process, the techniques you want to use, using the techniques, getting results from the technique, analyzing it, making analyzing the data and giving out results, making proposals, making like suggestions and direction, giving directions. So at the end of the day, you have to remember one thing. Now, wherever you are, you can learn. In fact, I always say that if you do well in Nigeria, you will do well anywhere. It's not because Nigeria is difficult, hard. No. Doing well is something you have been doing, depending on where you find yourself. So things you don't know, you will know. Like, I didn't use all these equipments till almost at the beginning of, at the second year of my master's, but I had to learn them. Nobody expects you to come to a lab and they say, oh, this is GCMS, start operating it. You say you know the theory. Come on, these instruments are very expensive. They wouldn't take that risk. You will be taught, okay? And if you don't understand it, ask. Don't go and start something because you want to feel smart. No, you will be bad if you spoil it. So be humble. Yes, you have a master's. In fact, sometimes you might even come there and the people that are teaching you are the bachelors. I mean, how will I even talk about competition when these guys started a lot of these techniques at their bachelor, using it and making a lot of, making analytics and making results for me. But I started using it later. So I can always go to them and say, how did you do this? How can I use it? When you even know the theory, you have a background. So it's not like putting one and getting two. You know how it's happening. So whatever you don't know, when you get to your master's, when you get to your PhD, you would be taught. Of course, people are not going to hold you by hand every day. You want to use the instrument, they will teach you because they also have things to do, right? But they will teach you and you can use it. You would have a manual, you would have, this is the operation, this is how you prepare the samples, this is where you put it, this is how you take your measurement, you get your data this way, this is how you transfer your data. So when you get there, you would realize, of course, it doesn't mean it will be easy per se, but you would be taught what you don't know. Okay, and if you don't understand, please always ask nicely, and always understand that people are busy. So find the best way to, like, okay, I want to use this instrument. These are my samples. Can we do the first measurement together? As they are teaching, of course, you are taking note, right? So all of this you can learn. Again, there is nothing you cannot learn. It's just a matter of how committed you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Doc. We'll take the final question. We are sorry we'll not be able to take more questions. More hands are coming up, Doc.
Chubuza, I can give them 5 minutes.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much, Doc. Okay, so Olamide, you can ask your question right now. You can ask your question. You've been unmuted.
Yeah, thank you very much for organizing this. It's been mind blowing, and of course, it's always enlightening with Dr. Kelechukwu. Yeah. So one of the mentoring session I had with you, Dr. Kelechukwu, on LinkedIn, you were asking me about would I want to do a PhD and all, and I was like, yes, I would love to. And you said, oh, I should start from where I'll be doing my master thesis. But at that time, I knew that, oh, okay, there's a place I would love to do my master thesis, but I wouldn't want to do a PhD there, in the sense that I would love to, like, okay, at the moment I'm doing my master thesis in the US. I'm a student in Germany, but I came to the US just for the international exposure and also to get some scholarships and all. And yeah, so I knew I wasn't going to stay back in the US. Like, I was going to go back to Germany. And so you're like, oh, just if you're going to start from where you are, from where you're going to do your master thesis, make them understand that you would love to do a PhD and all. And interestingly, to the glory of God, I've been getting some green light, like, are you going to stay back? What are your plans and all like that? Yeah, but so my second question will now be that people used to say that it's not really, like, it doesn't really matter if you don't get the PhD position in the field you would love to. Like, if, for instance, the field I would love to do a PhD is immunology, and maybe I get a PhD position in genetics or something. How are you able to manage that? Do you have to go for what you want, or just like get the PhD position, try to, you know, understand literature and see how you can blend yourself into the research and all? So how are you able to balance getting a place that you really love to, maybe something you would love to do, or something, or you just get a position and just try to blend yourself in?
Okay. Yeah. So that is very good. Very, very good question. It comes down to the same one of the first point. PhD is a long time. Okay, it's a long time to be doing what you don't like. To be sincere, and the reason is because you are going to have a lot of challenges. It's not out of fear. Just to give you an example, when I started, because again, I said I started spontaneously. I was to start in September 2015. Many of my colleagues started September, October. I had some issues, some delays with my contract. It needed to be signed with 2 universities. The process was too long, and it took up to February. So I started on the 1st of February. And in my mind somewhere, I felt I'm late. And this is something, again, that when I was talking to Haruna, I was to Emmanuel, I was mentioning this part, like, you are not late, okay? You are time. And this is important. Why? Because I was spontaneous in my mind. Oh, my friend started in September. I'm starting in February. It was all a delay. And now I want to start going to the lab from day one. And the second day I was already doing some experiments. Not the best idea. I wouldn't advise myself 3 years ago now to do that, because I didn't plan my research yet, right? I just came spontaneously. Now, why I'm saying this with respect to yourself is that if you don't like the field, when you say your research interest, the question is like, why is it your research interest? Is something so deep and meaningful there that you want to be part of? Is it something that you can see yourself doing in future? Is that where you want to be? And if it's really where you want to be, then you want to be very careful, because if you go to a field that you are not comfortable, there are 2 things here. The first is your interest. The second is your capability. What background do you have that would help you navigate in that field that you are not comfortable in? Imagine that you go to a field that you need to start learning things from bachelor. Literally, I've seen people that have had this kind of experience. So because they have gone so far from their area of knowledge or of background, They now need to learn a lot of basic. It can be great. Again, if that is your only option, sincerely, like I was looking for PhD offers also everywhere. I would have gone into areas that I look back and said, come on, you wouldn't have loved it. But I didn't really care because I needed to have a PhD, not like PhD degree. I needed to have a PhD position. Like I needed to make that transition. So again, fortunate for me, God has a way of doing things to bring you where he wants you to be. So at the end of the day, I'm where I really can see like, oh, this is definitely what I love doing. And this is what drives that passion. Remember when I talk about positivity, passion, how will you bring in passion when your first thought is going to be like, if I was doing what I love, I wouldn't be having these challenges, right? Or then you start feeling like I need a lot of background to even start doing research. Like so if it's an area that you can do because you have the necessary background, is not too far away from what you have been doing, why not? Maybe it's not directly that expertise, but still, it's still a bit in a bigger cycle, not the biggest cycle. But if it's something that is completely off, I've had a friend that went and did a PhD in really something far away from the field and had a lot of problems, not because they are not intelligent, but they need to know more. And at that point, nobody is coming to teach you things from your bachelor. In fact, you are doing research, right? So imagine you want to do research and you need to read all the works that we were supposed to do as a bachelor, then read the ones from masters before you even understand the grammar they are using in the field. So I would not go very far. But again, if that is what is the only thing that is available, and for us, and again, I speak for us in the sense of people that are immigrants and they need visa or stay to be where they have to be, we don't have a lot of options, right? The option is, okay, do you want to go back to Nigeria or to your country, or do you want to take a PhD position that you might not really like, but that is what is the only thing available? And if that's the case, if eventually you take it, the first thing that you have to put in your mind is that I have taken it. I'll make the best out of it. So don't come into it and start feeling like I would have been somewhere else if I didn't take this. No, once you make a decision, stick to it and be responsible for it, okay? Like, yes, I'm going to need to do more. I'm going to learn more. Why not? It's a new skill. It's a new area of my brain that I'm developing. I'm going to do it. So when you decide, stick to what you have decided. And when I was telling you about talking to your group to extend, because that is usually like a more easier, they are easier to keep you because they have seen your capability compared to going to another group that they have to like start assessing. So if you were to compete for a position with someone that is in your group or in another group, if you're competing there, you have less chances compared to someone that was already present. And most times this is the case, okay?
Oh, thank you so much, Doc. Our 5 minutes have actually elapsed, but can we just take one more question, Doc?
Okay, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, keep it to 20. It's almost 3:30. Okay, let's take one more. All
right. Ibiwoye, did I get the name correctly? Yeah, Demilade Ibiwoye. I'm asking you to. Okay, Ibiwoye, your background is noisy, very noisy. I'll unmute you again to see if it's cleared so you can ask your question clearly. But if not, you would have to type the question.
Okay, I see Kruger. Idoko's hand is still up.
Yeah, I just asked Idoko to unmute himself right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
much. Sorry about that. I mistakenly muted him again. Hi again. Okay.
Yes, can I speak now?
Yes.
Hello.
There's too much noise in your background.
There's too much noise in your background. Please type your question. But Idoko, you can speak right now. You can ask the question.
Okay, thank you very much. I said I'm actually speaking because I had written the question earlier, but it looks like Doc did not fully understand my question. Now, The question is, I'm supposed to, some of the equipment I'm supposed to have used during MSc are the LCMS and all of that. So it's expected that I know it, right? But we only analyze maybe the papers and all. Now, I have missed like 1 or 2 supervisors that have had grants because they will say they want hands-on experience on the use of this, or they want someone that has used these things before doing analysis. In fact, one very recently, because the supervisor said she cannot guarantee that I'll be able to learn these things from the scratch. That will be a tedious task to learn. Now, and I am still in Nigeria. Of course, I want to get a PhD outside the country. And then maybe because of my field, a lot of them expect that you should know how to use some of these analytical, because you're going to do a lot of, and I'm going to be doing a lot of analysis in natural product chemistry. So they expect that. No, now I'm asking, is it possible to still learn it in Nigeria? Are there places where you can recommend for me, or maybe where I can do, or I should just still look out for a supervisor that would accept to say, okay, I would agree that you work, because I actually got someone that would say, okay, come and work, but no funding yet. So that's why I'm asking for your counsel on what you think.
Yeah, so I think these are two different, I would see it as two different questions. The first one is that when it means hands-on skills, I mean, in knowledge, right? I don't expect anybody to put you on an instrument and say, start operating, because you say you know how to use it. That's for sure. I don't, except you are coming in as an expert on the instrument and you are even the one to set it up. I think that's a different discussion, okay? If they already have the instrument running, then somebody will show you how to use it. So you need to be clear about it. In Nigeria, I would not know for sure, but I know that perhaps there are some private labs, especially some of these labs that do some analysis for oil companies. I remember when in our undergraduate, a lot of people had to go to Port Harcourt to one private lab. I can't remember the name. And some of these labs have some of these techniques. Maybe you could also Google it online to see like, where can I find so, or even on LinkedIn, you can, I would even see it first online, like just search on Google, where can I find GCMS in Nigeria, as an example. That is one. Yes, when you say you know the knowledge, that you have the theoretical background, another advice that I could give is that look for YouTube videos, okay? Look for YouTube videos on how to operate so equipment. I think there should be some videos. And that would help you to like understand what it looks like. But again, I do not expect anybody to just allow you to operate an instrument that they have not taught you. Even when you know it and you go to a lab, they would always do that, okay? Somebody is even talking about Udemy, so Future Learn YouTube. So again, you can find some of these things. And what I would tell you is be confident. I think there was one question that I saw when I was looking into the chat. I missed it. And the person was like, how do you, when you feel you do not know enough? We all feel that way, okay? And maybe when I say it now, you feel better. We all feel that way. We all feel at times, even professors feel that way. Like, am I really good enough? Am I in the right place? Can these people trust me? Will I fail them? Will I disappoint them? That is the guilty mindset, and we all have it. So you don't feel it, okay? Just always tell yourself why you are where you are. You got there, and you have done it before. You can do it again. Always remember to ask and get help. Help in the sense of, I don't know how to use this instrument. I need somebody to teach me. Or I don't know how this works. Don't look at somebody, especially if you go and you see some people that are much younger than you, are like, how will I ask this small child to, sorry for saying child, but how will I ask this very young person to teach me? I mean, I'm older, I have a master's, they just have a bachelor. Why should they teach me this? No, that's not important. So be calm and humble to ask. So in your own case, I would say that don't be afraid to accept to come there and demonstrate it. The biggest fear we have is the fear of our limitations. But most times we are much more unlimited than what we think. So go there and be confident. Confidence is very important. So you don't go and you don't want to touch the equipment because you are afraid. No, be confident. You will not, except you stay in your room, as long as you go out of your country, out very far away into a new lab, a new group, you have to be confident. Confident is not being prideful or being proud. No, it's being really sure of what you want to do. So having theoretical background is even very, very important than even the experimental, because then you can now understand what does this instrument do? What is the technique? What is the basic? What is the physics behind the instruments, the method? How does it do it? How does the instrument does its measurement? What kind of data does it give me? How do I analyze the data? The instrument is just an instrument. You press an on, you put a sample, it does the measurement. Some you need some more special type of, but again, it's a machine. So when you know what the machine does, it's even more important than an on and off. So I would say that don't let the names of these instruments make it look so fancy and so scary that you are afraid to even want to go close to them. Okay. So I would, if I'm you, I would not tell them. I would say, yes, I have theoretical background on this instrument. I'm very confident I can operate them, and I'm happy to learn. So don't just say, oh, I've not used it before, I'm not sure I can use it. I think that's not the way to you want to present yourself, because again, for PhD research, you have to also show that you have to be on your own, that you are you can be leader. You can lead yourself. You get help from people. Self-leadership is not you away from others. It's knowing how you can manage yourself and also the people around you. So getting help from the people around you, giving help to people around you. So don't just rule out yourself, okay?
Oh, thank you so much, Doc. Yeah, Ibiwoye finally dropped the question on the chat box. He said, it's been a great platform. It's been great having this platform. Searching for PhD position is scary. More scarier is having one position. He said he has a supervisor that sent an abstract to him, and he has to read more on the abstract than download the papers. He said, kindly advise on what to do, because she told him to come up with a project plan and he's stuck. He doesn't know where to start with.
So I would say that the question is more about what is the supervisor looking for? And for you to know what the supervisor is looking for, look at their research field, look at publications. Like you said, you have gotten some publications. What is a research plan? Okay. A research plan is basically like you want to build something. You start thinking of, I need an architecture, I need a land, I need to know the stages. I have to first find the land, I need to buy the land. I need to get people to clear the land. I need to register it if it's important to do that first. I need to get people to clear it. I need to get people buy materials for the fence. I need to get an architecture on what I want to build. I need to pay the person. I need to do this till the house is standing. That is a research plan in literal sense. So if someone tells you that I need a research plan and I've given you abstract, the question is maybe the abstract and the papers is to give you a guidance of what they are working on. But it doesn't mean that you should basically go and summarize what they are doing as a research plan. Do you understand what I mean? The abstract, the publications, things that have been done should give you an idea. As an example, imagine that a researcher is working on development of new materials for the aerospace industry, or let's do biomimicry, or let me think of some. Let's do thinking of something more simple. Let's do oil spillage, okay? Because this is something that we are familiar with in Nigeria. And you know that there are some kind of, I would say, materials, or there's some kind of compounds that can help to degrade, right? Bioremediation that can help to break down the oil pollutants. And somebody is working in that field, bioremediation. That is the field, the big field. There are different types of bioremediators. Now, the person wants you to give a research plan. What I would do is, first, how do I know the person is in bioremediation? Because he has given me an abstract and given me a list of publications to help me define where they are. Now I know this person is in this field. Research plan is now you asking yourself, what can I propose in this field? Now, as an example, you might say that you want to propose because you have seen that they always work with this kind of molecules A, B, and C that is gotten from a compound D. You can now say, okay, I want to propose that instead of getting it from D, because D comes from this kind of environment that is not safe, or D is this kind of way, it's expensive. There are questions why we should propose something else, right? So problem definition. What is the problem? Okay. Now you find a way to bring in, first of all, you know the field. So you need to be in that field. Don't go and propose to somebody in bioremediation that he wants to do. I mean, bioremediation could also be like ecology, right? But don't go and propose to that person something on like aerospace engineering. I'm just trying to give you really, really diverse things, because that is not their field. They will not be able to do anything with you in that field. So you first identify their field. And now that you have done, research plan is basically first of all, what is your research that you want to propose based on what they are doing? How do you go about it? Again, how do you go about it? If you take a publication, look at the methods. Most times we are too fast to look at abstract and we forget to go to methods. Go to the method, then go to, most times they always put materials and methods, right? Or methods, sometimes inside it you find the instrument. So I would go to the methods of these papers, see what they have done. I look at the title, I look at the method. What method did they use to come to their abstract? Abstract is summary of their work, right? So to get an abstract, you need to get a method, you need to get results. Abstract is the summary. If I go to the abstract, I go to the result, to the methods. Then if I go to the method, if I'm preparing a research plan, I go to the method. Method will tell me what they needed to do. How did they get the compound? Where did they get it from? How did they need to synthesize it, or was it already available? I can now start saying, if they synthesized it, where did they synthesize it from? If I want to propose something different, I could say, okay, in the literature, they have synthesized this from B and C. What if, and I've seen in the literature that it can be synthesized from D, and maybe D is better. I would use it as my basis of proposal. Then you have a method, because you know how method that they have used. Then you can bring that in as the methods you are also going to use, if it's relevant. Then, because we are talking about research plan, then the research plan now is, how do you achieve the research? First, step one, I need to synthesize this molecule from this, this, and this. Step two, I need to characterize this molecule using this method. Step three, I need to use the data from this method to find the best conditions of doing this. Step three, so the rundown process of how you are going to do the research. And what I've just given you here, again, is really like standing on my feet, thinking of how I would approach this kind of questions by looking at what I have. And this is also important now that you ask, like when you are looking for supervisors, or you want to propose a research, like research proposal, look into what they are doing, get publications from their group, understand the methods they are using, because that gives you an idea of what is their capability. Look at the different groups they are collaborating with and understand what is done in what group. Then in that way, when you are proposing something, it's like you come to me and I'm looking for oranges and you bring me something that is orange. Of course, I'll be interested. If somebody comes and tell me, do you know that you can actually make this orange from banana? But I'm interested in orange. I would be interested. If somebody come and tell me, do you know you can make mango from this orange, or from again orange, as long as orange is there, I'm interested. If you say, do you know you can make mangoes from this orange? I'll be interested, because you're starting from what I know. If you say, do you know I can make bananas from this mango? First of all, I'm not interested in mango. I'm not interested in banana. So what I'm trying to say is, when somebody says, send me a proposal, please send a proposal in their field. And for you to send a proposal in their field, you need to understand what they are doing. And it's not a matter of sending an email in one night. It might take 2 weeks, even 1 month, to understand what they are doing. Find the gap. What are they doing, and where is the gap? Is there a gap existing? Are they avoiding certain steps? Have they considered other methods? Maybe different groups have, not different groups, maybe somebody has used this molecule to, not for bioremediation, but for, let me say, for ecosystems, as an example. Then you can now say, what do I need to use this material to, what do I need to make this material to be used for ecosystem? That is a proposal, because they have always been concerned with bioremediation, but we can actually develop this kind of materials and use it in a different way. And that is a proposal. And the person would know, this is my field. I know this material. Oh, I have not thought about using it in another way. So when you are looking at a research group, always identify gaps. Okay. I think we can talk all day. I can talk all day, but at some point I get tired. So we would have to close. My LinkedIn handle, many of you are already part of my LinkedIn network. Chibuzo can also share that after the meeting. And so we should be able to connect. Again, just understand that I might not be able to answer to many of your questions. Most times, not because I don't want to, but just the time to do it, okay? And hopefully we can plan other sessions in the future when the time allows. Okay?
Wow, thank you so much, Doc. Doc, I'm going to add your LinkedIn profile to the post-webinar email I'm going to be sending to everybody. It's going to be on the post-webinar email so that we can
including
all
the
connect.
Recording, yeah.
Yeah, of course, the recording, yes, it's going to be there too. Thank you so much, Doc. It's really been an exciting time. I've learned a whole lot of things that would help me personally and professionally. Thank you so much. And I know that everybody here, we had 44 people in attendance. I know that every one of us here had learned something amazing. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a very great honor to be here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're going to end today's section. Doc, do you have a final word for us before we close?
Yes, I would say that let your passion drive what you do. Okay, be passion driven. When everything seems not to make sense, the passion and the reason why you're doing what you do is what keeps you going. And of course, always trust God for your process. So understand that wherever you are, the experiences you have passed through life are actually preparing you for what you are doing. And whatever you're passing through, see it as an experience, the outcome of which is going to help you to keep moving forward. So don't feel stuck. When you feel you are stuck, especially in research, always think of something else that you can do. So when you are doing your research, again, that's why I was talking about being mapping the research area. If A is not working, what else can I do? How can maybe I can do something else around B? It's not my main project, but it's something that can still help me to drive my main project. So always look for other things to do, right? Then, and finally, trust what you do. Trust the process. Okay, trust the process. Always know that the process is not there to break you. And so even if it feels like it's breaking you, just remember that you are the product, right? And ask yourself if you want to be broken. I wish you all the very best. Thank you for joining.
Wow, wow, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc. Okay, guys, till we meet again, I would want you to remember that you will all win. We are all a work in progress. Exactly. Just like Doc would always. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining. Really, really interesting session. I mean, we are 30 minutes over time and felt like we just started. So again, I can talk all day. That's what I do. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Doc. This is where we're going to end today's section. Okay. Please expect the video in the next 3 hours. It's going to come to your emails, so you can.
You can unmute everyone to say something as they leave.
All right, so let me unmute everyone right now. All right, everyone is good to unmute themselves. I just allowed you to unmute yourself. All right.
Hi, Chibuzo. What of those that did not register online? Because some of us tend to we got the Zoom, the Zoom meeting ID on LinkedIn platform. So how do we get across? How do we get the recorded recordings for this class?
Okay. So if you are a friend to Doc on LinkedIn, he's going to share the link on his LinkedIn too. So you can get the link to the recorded section on his LinkedIn profile.
Okay then.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That
Thank
good
you
is to
so much.
say.
Thank you so much.
I see Sunday Okafu. Sunday, I didn't notice you were around. Nice to
The
see
Thank you very
boss.
you.
much. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you guys. Nice to have you. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just seeing a lot of faces now. I didn't know they were part of the call.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Casey, this is Jennifer from Lagos.
Hello,
Very
hi.
interesting session. Thanks very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Doc, thank you very much. This is Sunday. Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Okay, Sunday, how are you?
I'm
Nice
very
to hear
fine.
from
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kelechukwu. It's always an amazing time with you. God bless you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Felix. Nice to see
Thank you
you
so
again.
much. Thank you so much, Doctor. I
Yeah,
came late,
thank
but
you.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank
I
you
hope
very
to
much.
get the video.
Yes, yes. It will be the link would be shared on LinkedIn, and so you should
Okay.
be able to get it.
Thank you so much.
So also for the many people that could not join, so it will be shared. Okay, guys, all the very best. Time to leave. I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.